Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
It's 4 o'clock in Los Angeles. It's 6 o'clock in Chicago. And it's 7 p.m. here in New York City. Hello, everybody. This is Mad Dog the Scipio on a very special night with a very, very special guest. But joining me this week, as she does every week, I swear to God, I try to get rid of this woman, but she keeps making her way back. How the fuck do you get in this place?
I got a secret room, and I got to tell you.
Mad Dog and the Pitbull together again. Amelia, the Pitbull Chapman. How are you, kid?
Doing good. How are you?
No, I have to tell you, God bless you. You're a saint. I bust your chops each and every week, and you just sit there with a smile. And this was, she's a wonderful woman. She gave me an amazing gift, Ronnie. She bought me a guitar for my birthday. My birthday was Monday.
Wow!
And
happy birthday!
Thank you, Ronnie. And our special guest on this special evening is television and film actor Ronnie Marmo. He is not only an actor, but he's a writer, producer, and director, and a hell of a writer.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some of his writing tonight.
Oh, we got to do the applause. Come on. Where is it?
Oh, you want the applause?
Yes.
Oh, man, you threw me on the curveball here.
That's
Wow. There you go.
Hey, I'm a soap opera gal. You have to do it for him. Come on.
Absolutely. Now,
Thank
see,
you.
if you had said something 10 minutes ago, I'd have queued it up already.
You had that one coming.
Your timing sucks, lady. Ronnie Marmo is here because he has embodied one of my heroes in life. And that's not by any stretch an exaggeration or an understatement. I am, if you watch this show and you listen to us around the world, I am a huge, huge Lenny Bruce fan. And Ronnie did something remarkable. He brought Lenny Bruce back to life in a one-man show called I'm Not a Comedian on Lenny Bruce, directed brilliantly by Emmy award-winning, multi-award-winning actor Joe Mantegna. Joe, you worked with him on the Criminal Minds. Is that what it is?
Well, that was one project we worked together on, but I've known Joe now. It's got to be almost 2 decades, and we've worked together quite a bit. And he's a really special guy. You know, he's amazing.
He is a remarkable guy. I tell you what I did, and I don't know if anyone told you. I sent an invite. I said to Janelle, I said, look, here's an open invite to Joe Mantegna if he wants to, piggyback with Ronnie on the show. I said, we're open to it. I love him. He's a hell of an actor.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about you. I want to introduce everyone to you. This is Ronnie Marmo as Lenny Bruce, and I'm Not a Comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce. And tell everybody a little bit about Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce paved the way for counterculture comedians like Mort Saul, Maury Amsterdam, and Fat Jackie Leonard. His trials for obscenity was a landmark of freedom of speech case in the United States in 1965, and sadly, Lenny passed away August 3rd, 1966. In 2017, Rolling Stone magazine ranked him 3rd behind George Carlin and Richard Pryor on its list of 50 best stand-up comics of all time. I would put him, quite frankly, either number 1 or number 2. Ronnie, where would you rank Lenny among George and Richard?
Well, to me, he's number 1. Maybe not because he was the funniest of the bunch, but because of how important he was. I mean, in my opinion, he directly handed he directly handed the microphone to Carlin and Pryor with his passing. And so I often wonder what George Carlin's career would look like had Lenny not passed away. So, in my opinion, Lenny's number one. I think out of the three, Pryor was the funniest, and I probably liked Carlin the most. So it's a funny thing because all three of them are incredible comics.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, Lenny paid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I love George because I'm a cerebral kind of guy, and I like quick wit. And then George was just a quick wit. Richard Pryor, however, was just fucking funny.
He was the funniest of all.
Yeah, anything he said or did was fucking hilarious. And I'm proud to say that I was friends with his daughter Rain for a very long time.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine.
We had a falling out. Tell her that you know me.
Okay. Well, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing. She was a friend of mine for quite a bit. Nice. I love her still. I still like her.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her in a long time.
She's wonderful.
Let's talk about this. An actor, once in a while, he comes across a couple of things that define him. You have a couple of things that define you: your ability to write, you're an amazing director, you're a class A actor, and you have the ability to not only to create but to recreate with almost precision perfection figures like Lenny Bruce. Now, when I saw, and I was fortunate enough because I actually have a video of the entire performance that was snuck to me. And I have to tell you.
Hey, who snuck it to you? Hey, Mad Dog, I want names right now.
But I will tell you that I laughed. I cried. My fists were, up in rage. And I thought to myself, if this man, Ronnie Marmo, can evoke that kind of emotion from me, imagine what Lenny did to people. And you were amazing, brother. I mean, you were amazing.
Thank you.
What did it take for you?
Yeah.
What process? Actors have, and we've had a lot of actors on the show, Ron. I mean, a lot. Amelia, tell me.
Yes, we have.
A lot. But we've had few actors of your caliber that can redefine and reinvigorate a character, especially one that's been gone for so long. Lenny died in '66. That's a long time ago, Ron. So how do you breathe life into a guy like that, who a lot of people don't know?
Yeah, it's wild. First of all, thank you for all those kind words. I appreciate that. It's really nice to hear. Look, I'm very fortunate. I found a subject in Lenny who I love, and I wanted to tell the whole story. I didn't want to just make it a love letter to Lenny. Although if you've seen the show, which I think is a little shaky, I don't know how you saw that, Mad Dog, but we'll get back to that later. Listen, I want names before I go to sleep tonight. But anyway, look, I'm very blessed to have something that I identify with so much. Not to get too spiritual on you, but in some ways I feel like I'm continuing a fight for Lenny that he didn't get to finish, and so when I'm on stage, well, you saw, I mean, when I'm on stage, I give my soul over to Lenny and to his fight. And it's so cool as an actor to have something that you love doing so much.
Yeah.
And you're pretty good at it and other people care about it. So that, because, it's hard to get those roles sometimes. And so
that's critical. Oh man, did you open up a Pandora's box?
Yeah.
And people care about it.
Oh, yes, they do.
Lately, in the last few years, thanks to shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, with the, bringing up the Lenny character again, and your show, of course, and people paying tribute in their, in sometimes, crude way, but in sometimes very loving and humble ways, paying tribute to Lenny. With one-man shows or ensemble pieces. The guy, and I absolutely agree with what you said, the guy didn't have a chance to finish his fight.
Yeah.
And I think it's critical that we that are left behind here finish the fight for him. One of the things that I'm doing is, and Amelia and I, and with our show, is we are adamantly staunch advocates of free speech, the First Amendment right to free speech. And so much so that we've dedicated entire shows to free speech.
Great.
Lenny was trying to do that in a time when, if people think they're being suppressed now,
Well,
if you lived in 1963, 4, or 5, man, you don't know what suppression is today.
well, no doubt. And let me tell you this. I mean, certainly I'm sensitive to comics who feel like they're being canceled or they're being suppressed with their words, but it is not the same thing. I mean, this man went to prison for words and was arrested and hounded. And I think ultimately, talk about getting canceled. I mean, they canceled him. They killed him. I mean, they hounded this man.
Yeah.
And I think today, comics, yeah, there might be a group of people who don't like what you do, but you could still get an entire other group to come see your show. And so I think it's a little different. So, yeah, you're canceled by a group of individuals, but there are still people who can make a great living doing this. And so free speech is certainly important, and I think everybody should have it, especially comics. But Lenny was that whole thing in the 60s was a very different situation.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I've said this before on a show. I was part of a round table on Lenny. And what I basically said was the man was martyred by his government for the words he believed in. And he adamantly and staunchly believed in his words. He believed in his right to speak those words.
Absolutely.
At a time when, nobody wanted to hear it, quite frankly. The people, the powers that be, they don't want to hear any of that stuff.
Yeah, but you know
God
why?
forbid,
You know why, Mad Dog? Here's why they didn't want to hear it. Not because it was the words themselves. In my opinion, doing so much research on Lenny and learning so much, I think they were afraid of him because he was the smartest guy in the room. And that's what it was about. He held a mirror up to society and he examined things and wanted to talk about things. And they didn't know what to do with that. And so I think it was less about the words and more about like, this man is like, he's examining things and he's looking at things and he's challenging the norms, and they had a problem with that. Nobody was.
Well, he scared the shit out of them, Ronnie.
Yeah, so that's what
he did for real.
They were frightened by him,
Oh, absolutely. Amelia.
Yes.
Ronnie Marmo is up to bat for questions from the Pitbull.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much again for being here. And I noticed that, you put yourself into it, but I know you put yourself in the character. How different is it from going from a soap opera to doing your one-man show?
Wow, it's an interesting question. In some ways it's similar in that, in a soap opera, they're banging out so much product constantly that you only get one take. It's very much like a play, you get one take. It's a very different thing, though. You have scene partners when you're up there by yourself in a one-man show. And when you start the play literally dead naked on the toilet, I mean, that's how I start the show, literally. And so it's a very different thing. There's no safety net. There's nowhere to hide. It's just you and an audience. And I've done this show to an audience of 1, and I've done this show to 1,500 people. And it's a wild, and everything in between. And it's a wild experience. Being on a soap was awesome and very challenging. And I spent 3 years on General Hospital, and it was cool in a way because it made me a better actor because you really forced to learn so much material the day before. You come in, you bang it out, and really they don't have time to stop and do another one. So they have some similarities in that they're both a huge challenge, but being on stage by yourself it's a whole nother thing.
That's scary shit, Ronnie.
It's a little crazy. It's
scary stuff. Ronnie Marmo is an award-winning actor, writer, producer, and director, and in fact was directed by an Emmy award-winning actor and director, Joe Montana. You've known Joe a long time. How did Joe Montana become involved in the Lenny Bruce project?
when I wrote this, I had been thinking of Joe to direct it for a long time. And I had mentioned it to him a few times, and he was aware of it. But once I got it to a place where I thought, okay, it's very close to wanting to workshop it. In other words, stand up and start rehearsing it and see what's working, what's not working. I called Joe and I said, Joe, I wrote this thing, the Lenny Bruce show, and I'd love you to take a look at it and see what you think. And he's like, well, why don't you just perform it for me and I'll see what I think. I said, just perform. He's like, yeah. So I just literally stood up and I read the thing for him. And it was exciting. And Joe's like, I think he said something like, this is the real deal. I'm in. And I was like,
So, Ronnie, did you read off a script to him, or did you read a treatment, or a box outline?
I read the script that I had at that time. It definitely evolved. Joe was very instrumental early in the process. When we got into rehearsal, the first few weeks, there was a lot of table reads. And Joe would say, like, why don't we move that, page 30, let's move it to page 5. I think about that. So he helped me a lot at the end. He took, I'd like to say he took it the last 10 yards before we went into production,
It's interesting when you're talking about table reads. I've been around television and film for quite a long time. Table reads, for those of the people watching and listening don't know, generally 7 or 8 people around the table, maybe 10, all reading their parts, and a table read with the star of the show and the director is pretty intimidating. I'll get this out. Intimidating. Two people at a table, the writer / star of the show and the director.
Well, it was worse than that. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
I was standing up on stage and he was sitting in the front row watching me. So
for crying out.
I'm standing up holding the script. And he was just watching, and so it was intimidating. But you know what? It was also exactly why I'm in this business. It's when you're in a position like that, and you go, "It's Joe Mantegna. It's one of the greats.
Absolutely, one of the best."
Yeah. So you do one or two things in that situation if you're an actor.
Yeah.
You either fold up and run away, or you grab it by the neck and go, I'm going to be better because of this. And,
absolutely, right. You go balls to the walls, or you go home.
Yeah, luckily,
for sure.
Joe's such a gentleman, though. He makes it really easy.
Ronnie Marmo acts as the artistic and theatrical director of the prestigious Theater 68 in both Los Angeles and New York locations. Ron, how did you get involved in Theater 68? I know a little bit about this group.
I love the story, how he came up with the name. That is
Bite your tongue, Pitbull.
I
love it.
Tell the story. You tell it.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it was he had only 68 cents left in his pocket, and they were wanting him to come up with a name, actually. And he's like, Theater 68 company, theater production, because he only had the 68 cents. Am I kind of like in the middle of that?
It's very close to that, but that's the sentiment of it. Yeah, Theater 68 we started it back in February of 2001. And I was a co-founder. So there was a couple of us. And I became the artistic director pretty quickly after we opened it because, literally none of us had any experience. So they would be like, Ronnie, you pick the plays. My friend Danny had a hammer, so he was going to be the set designer. Yeah. Like literally, this is what it was. And they trusted this crazy brain. I have a combination of like art and business, like right down the middle of my brain. And so they were like, oh, pick the plays and we'll produce them. And that was 22 years ago. And I did it out of a necessity because I was broke, as Pitbull just mentioned. I was completely broke in LA, but wanted to study and wanted to get better at acting and working. So I brought all my friends together and we would like do scene work, critique each other, and just kind of stay sharp just in case an opportunity came up. And so that's how we opened in LA. And then about 10, 11 years after that, I thought, well, let me bring this back home to New York as well. And then I opened the New York chapter, and we're still going strong. I'm so proud of both those, and they mean the world to me. So
I love success stories like that. I really, really do.
Thank you.
I love a success story, particularly when I see a paisan and the East Coast guy. You don't know what it does. It's a sense of national pride. It's a sense of one of my own, hitting a home run, becoming Babe Ruth for a moment in time.
Yeah, we
You
love
know?
Babe Ruth. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or one
Well,
of my
let's
favorite
talk
soap
a little
opera actors too. Like, no, don't do that. Like, like, did you really do that? And like, and he's right in front of me, right here.
Oh, good. Oh, you
Yeah.
watched the show?
Yes, yes, I
Oh,
did.
Oh,
For a
yeah.
long time, I'm like, oh no.
thank you.
Oh,
She
Yeah.
gets very passionate about stuff. I have to
I
tell
love
you.
soap operas. Yes, it's my favorite.
Oh, that's great, Pitfall. It was interesting in the General Hospital was a great job, but I hated the way they killed my character off.
I know. I was like, no. I was like in tears. We had a lot of us like, Mom, did you just see that?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Tell your mom thank you.
oh, I will definitely.
Absolutely.
We have our friend Leon Barfield. Tell them about tell them about me getting talked to for listen to this. Our friend Leon works at a senior care facility. They called him down to the to the principal's office, the administrator's office in this facility. Now here's the man. Leon is in his middle to late 60s, and they scolded him for playing a Lenny Bruce tape in the facility. Now these people don't know; they don't care because half of them are shot anyway. But when you get called down to the principal's office in 2023 for playing Lenny Bruce, then something's really wrong.
Well,
Right.
to me, that's
He said 56. I'm sorry, Leon. I made you.
well, to me, first of all, they should be thanking Leon for playing the record.
Absolutely.
But second of all,
Yeah.
when I hear something's really wrong, I think the opposite. I think if he's getting in trouble for listening to Lenny, something's really right.
Absolutely.
Lenny's still
Bravo,
here.
baby.
Yes.
Bravo. I'll tell you what, speaking of listening to something, let's listen to words from our sponsor. This is our first set of breaks. Folks, we'll be right back.
Jess wanted to start a business when something surprising happened.
Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet.
She started crocheting, like a lot. And her friends noticed.
Jess, you need to sell those.
So she signed up for Shopify and started building her business.
Yes, I love that.
And after a lot of hard work, this happened.
Oh my gosh, I just made my first sale!
You see, every day, hundreds of businesses get their first sale on Shopify.
We got a ding!
And the next could be you. So when you're ready to bring your idea to life
And become your own boss.
build it on Shopify.
Step 1, train the people only to consume. Step 2, infiltrate adults with the news. Step 3, indoctrinate the children through the schools and the music and the apps on the phones that they use. Step 4, separate the right from the left. Step 5, separate the white from the black. Step 6, separate the rich from the poor. Use religion and equality to separate them more. Step 7, fabricate a problem, made a lie. Step 8, put it on the news every night. Step 9, when people start to fight and divide, take control. This is called situational design.
And we're back with America's Best Popcast. What's the buzz? I'm Angelo Mad Dog DeCipio, joined by the Pitbull Amelia, Pitbull Chapman. Tonight, our very special guest, television and film actor Ronnie Marmo, and how he became Lenny Bruce. So let's talk, when we last left off, Ron, let's talk a little bit about the writing process. I'm sure you went through a couple of drafts, as most writers do. Talk to me about the joys of it, the pain of it. Did you ever run into what they call writer's block? And if so, how did you handle that? How did you handle the overall writing process? Was it cathartic for you?
Well, it's interesting. When I write something like this, I don't sit down at a keyboard and just hope it all comes out. I kind of like piece it together and receive it over time. This play took me 5 years to write. And sometimes I would put it down for 6 months. Yeah. I had nothing to say, and I would I don't know what to say. I'm just going to put it. And then I would get hit with a lightning bolt, and I'd go, oh, let me get back at it. And then I would, and so, but yeah, it was cathartic in a lot of ways, to be honest, because there were so many similarities between my life and Lenny's. My love for my daughters, his love for his daughter, my love for my mom, his love for his mom. Fighting for something that's important. We've all done that in our life for different things. And if we haven't, we should. And Absolutely. I was able to like get inside this in a way where it feels like 90 minutes of therapy every night in some ways, you know?
Oh, God bless you. I would pay for that.
It's really good. In fact, when I was during the pandemic for a year and a half, when I didn't get to do it, I felt a very different energy. I was like, just like kind of tense and stressed. And then when I got to do it, it was like this release. There's like this, I don't know, it's very cathartic, like you said.
Yeah. So Ron, you mentioned a couple things. I want to take a few things one at a time. The process of writing, it is very much cathartic for people who do write, because in anything, and I've written 2 books, in anything that you write, there's a piece of you in it. In addition to your physical resemblance to Lenny, because you do kind of favor him a bit. The one thing that Lenny is known for, besides his unique appearance, because he had kind of this everyday guy on the street appearance, and that wasn't the norm on television back in the late 50s, early 60s. They were looking for the beautiful people, and Lenny was kind of like a street guy.
Yeah.
But the other thing that he was most known for, and I want to talk to you about this, his voice. One of the things I said in my review was brilliantly inflected. How did you get that at the end of every Lenny sentence, there was this inflection that either made the line or made the joke or captured or got your attention? How did you, where did you find his voice?
You know,
his literal voice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's interesting because when I first took on this project, I was nervous because I don't do impressions. I'm not an impressionist. So I was like, I don't want to just imitate someone. It's like there's an Elvis. I don't want to be that guy. So I'm like, how do I authentically find myself in him and find him in me, kind of thing? And so I listened to everything I could get my hands on. I watched everything I get my hands on. I read everything. And then one day I just kind of started talking and I felt it. And yeah, it was interesting. At first I was like, is this too much? Am I putting on too much? And then I would listen. And then finally I lived in it for, a couple of months. I would just talk like that only so I could find the authentic truth of it. And then I just kept throwing it away and getting it simpler and simpler. And then one day I just woke up and it just was. And so I feel really, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. People like it. It's Lenny was
Everybody has a favorite Lenny line. What's your favorite Lenny line? One line from whatever routine.
Well, it changes all the time, but I'll give you one today. My favorite one today is, let me tell you the truth. The truth is what is, and what should be is a fantasy. That's one of my favorites.
I love that.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yes.
The truth is what is, and what should be is a fantasy. That's one, but I got a million of them. He was, yeah. I mean, what can I tell you?
That's beautiful. I love my favorite. My favorite of the moment is, will Elizabeth Taylor be bar mitzvah? I love that.
That one was fun.
There's just something classic about that. Because it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere. Let's take a look at Lenny Bruce and Ron Marmo. Take a look at this.
Controversial comedian of all time.
Will Elizabeth Taylor become bar mitzvah?
Now Joe Mantegna's directing a play about him. I Am Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce at Theater 68 in L.A. Actor Ronnie Marmo as Lenny.
But I got arrested in San Francisco for saying... No, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to repeat that 10-letter hyphenated word.
It's a full obligation to tell his story and not try to muck it up with any Hollywood baloney and just kind of do what he did and try to, pay respect to that.
I say, fuck, he writes something down. I say, fuck, he writes something down. Just to test my theory. I said, go fuck your mother, you cocksucking fuck. And he manages to write a small novella on the back of a bond.
there's not a, you can't even hear a pin drop when I do these few bits in the show. And I know it fuels me because I try to put myself where Lenny was in 1964 doing this material, which was shocking, really shocking then, and is really shocking today, actually.
It's the suppression of the word that gives it the power. The violence, the viciousness. Catholic, asshole, shit, in a park, and then tits and then shit and then Catholic and then Jews and then shit. I don't remember the entire act, John, but that's the general sentiment of the act.
I Am Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce, gives theatergoers an eye-opening look at the life of a comedian many people considered one of the best stand-up comics of all time, but a definite wild card who walked a dangerous line.
What's the worst thing you could say to somebody? Ah, fuck you, mister. Which is really weird, man, because if I really wanted to hurt you, I should say, unfuck you, mister. Because fuck you is real.
That's brilliant. That last line. Did you write that?
No, that was a Lenny.
From a Lenny routine?
That was a Lenny.
I don't remember hearing that. I'm asking because I know a lot of his material, and I don't ever recall hearing that before.
I'm still discovering stuff all the time. You know, it's so funny to watch that footage because that footage was from 6 years ago when I opened the show. So I watched that, I cringe. I'm like, oh, the show's grown so much since that. It's hard to watch it, you know what I mean?
Well, I'm going to give you more of the cringe at. Take a look at this, Ronnie.
Oh, jeez.
When you think about Carlin and Pryor and all these guys, without Lenny, they don't exist. And actually, if you don't know Carlin and Pryor, you know Louis C.K., Chris Rock, all these guys.
Right.
And he just, you know, it's amazing how this man was arrested and sentenced
multiple times.
Oh, many times for breaking the law for his use of dirty words, and he fought freedom of speech to the Supreme Court and lost.
You know, guys like me terrify guys like you because I have things to say. Things that cats like you don't want to hear when they stick your fucking fingers in your ear. You know, I'm not just talking for myself, man. I'm talking for every single American who's raised under the notion they can say whatever it is they want to say. How is this freedom? Please don't take away my words.
And that was the essence of Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
And that happened, by the way. People don't realize that happened in a courtroom. He was literally, and you know, for those of you who don't know what actually happened, he was literally in his underwear in a courtroom, a shirt, underwear, and a pair of socks, literally begging a judge not to take his words from him. People don't understand that.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
that
no.
painful for you, Ronnie, to recreate that?
It is in a lot of ways because it's like I never want to like, you know, schmaltz it up. Like you know, it's like I want to play the truth. You know, I see other Lenny impersonations or over the years, and people tend to go towards the bitter, angry guy at the end of his life, but he was so much more than that. You know, and it's painful because I couldn't believe he got arrested for saying words. And there's an argument I make in the play as Lenny that he made. And it's a big argument with the judge. And Joe Mantegna, by the way, plays the voice of the judge. So I have this big scene with Joe in the play. And he says, if a stripper goes into a public park and she shakes her hips, that ain't legal. I could dig that. He said, but if she does it somewhere private and those who are there are paying to see her naughty bits, well, that's legal. He said, so if people are paying to see my act, they're putting their butts in those chairs under their own free will. Why is that illegal? They're not in the public. I'm not in the public park cramming my act on people's throats. I'm just like the stripper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was a crazy thing that it was so simple yet so horrifying that they arrested him because they didn't like the content. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Sure. Amelia, questions for Ronnie Marmo?
Yeah, because like you were saying, it's nothing like it is now today. It's a lot worse than it is now. And to me, when I heard him, I was like, wow, he got arrested for that. I mean, he paved the way for like somebody like Andrew Dice Clay and Sam Kinison. I mean, because I heard a lot of Andrew Dice Clay in that.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I thought, wow. And do you see yourself maybe making a motion picture movie of his life? in the future?
Well, yes, maybe. I
Is it something you can talk about, Ron?
well, I can't talk about it, especially with you, because I don't know who's giving you information.
You
You
can
get-
tell me secretly.
I'm like an octopus, brother. I got fingers out everywhere.
You're like, I don't know where you get the footage. I don't know.
Somebody could be sleeping with the fishes.
No, I'll come clean. I'll come clean. I'll tell you. It was a bootleg copy that was provided to me, very raw, not edited whatsoever. A lot of it was just rehearsal stuff. But it was enough of a package that I got to see what the gist of the show was.
And like I
Straight up.
said, that was 6 years ago. I wish you could see it now. I mean, that's.
I would love to. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'd love to.
We're talking about coming back to Jersey, so stay tuned. I might come back to Jersey and do the show. And I was just in Tampa. I just played the Straz Theater in
Oh,
in Tampa,
wow.
Oh
which is
man.
it's 20 minutes from you. I have a lot of family in Clearwater.
Oh,
which is
wow.
not-
It's not too
Okay.
far from me.
Yeah,
I know. A lot
beautiful.
of first cousins. Yeah, but no, it's super cool, and I'm proud of it, and it's growing into something beautiful. And I hope to take it onto the screen as well, but one step at a time. We've got some things we're working on.
Oh, that's great.
Ronnie Marmo is an award-winning writer, producer, actor, and director. Ron, let's talk about aside from, because you've done much more in your career than just Lenny.
Absolutely.
That's what you were talking about Lenny tonight as a general subject. But I want to talk to Ronnie Marmo about Ronnie Marmo. So let's talk about what gave you this notion that you could even act, and what gave you this idea that you might be pretty good at it? Were you a young guy, like maybe hanging around the neighborhood, showing off to the friends, impressing the girls?
Soap operas. I can say soap operas.
No, look, because hey, that's
I
what it
don't know
was
about
for
all
me.
Mine was soap operas.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know about all that. It was funny. I was growing up, and I was born in Brooklyn, raised mostly in Jersey, and full-blooded Italian family. My father wasn't around all that much when I was younger, so my mother, like her and I got real close, of course, and she would take me to these plays, and I'd see these plays, and I'd be like, wow, I can't believe it. And I can't believe the people are there and the actors are there in the audience. And she'd say, after the play, she'd say, you should do it. So look how you get when you see this guy. I said, nah, I can't do it. I don't know. And then she died she was 53 and I was 24, I think. She was a young woman.
Oh.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And so when she died, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I do want to do it. I do want to do that. And so I said, the worst has happened in my life now. So the rest is gravy. So let me go do something I really want to do. And so I kind of put myself out there in a few different ways, and eventually got some opportunities. And then I was like, wait, man, maybe I'm pretty good at this. I don't know. And so, a lot of times when you have my face, a lot of times you play, Vinny, put him in the trunk, you
Hey,
play.
go over this, okay? You understand?
You know how many Vinnies I have on my resume? Like,
You know how many Nunzios I played? Come on.
So you understand what I mean?
Give me a break over here.
So I always knew that I was a decent actor, but like the idea to get to do stuff that is, on another level, and you go, wait, it's actually the material's making me a better actor. And that's exciting.
A very good point. That's a real good point. When you're starting out in this business, are you picky? Do you have to be choosy about what you do, or do you just take, Ronnie, whatever comes your way?
When I first started out, it was like, pick me, please, pick me. I'll do it. I'll play a tree, whatever you need me to do. And then eventually, you hope you start to go, wait a minute. Casting directors, agents, they smell fear. They smell desperation. So like, start to seek out things that you want to be a part of, start to seek out things that you somehow have a connection to. And I do believe that we bring things to us by putting certain energy out to the world. And so I no longer pick just anything offered to me. I mean, I tend to say no to a lot of things because my priorities are my wife, my daughters, my work is definitely a priority, but it's got to mean something to me. I can't just show up and go, Sarge phone call just for no reason. You know,
Yeah,
it's got to mean something. So, and the show doing Lenny, what's made it difficult about doing the show is that it's kind of spoiled it for everything else because, like, this is like the work I want to do, and so
yeah,
it's hard to take. No, and I do take those other jobs. You know, I still have health insurance. You know, I still got things I got to take care of.
I got a question for you. Honest answer, straight up, honest answer. Preference: theater, television, or film?
Theater.
Where are you alive?
Theater. It's hands down.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Theater. You know, and that's the toughest way to make a living, which is the problem. So I do love film and I do love television. They all have their own specific art forms. I think they all need to be respected differently. Like if you're a theater actor, my first movie is so embarrassing because I was like talking with my hand, you know, I didn't know how to be a film actor. So you have to learn how to do those things. So I love them all three equally, but if I had to pick one and I could just go ahead and make a living, it would be on the stage, you know?
Questions, Amelia?
Absolutely. What do you think of now that the actors have to go on strike as well?
Yeah.
Well, I am one of them, and we did go on strike today. And just before I got on with you, I watched Fran Drescher's speech, and I'm proud to that we're willing to fight for something. I mean,
absolutely, yes.
The streaming destroyed our business in a lot of ways. I know for viewers they watch it,
yes,
but it's really hurt the business because you know we live off residuals. You know,
Ronnie, can we talk about that a little bit? How does and for people who don't understand, how does the residual system work? Well, and why does the streaming element of it bypass the residual process?
Well, I don't know why it does. I think that's what we're trying to get to the bottom of now. So I feel like that the streaming happened so fast that maybe there were certain provisions left out of the deals of the kind. I don't know why it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I can tell you how the normal residuals work is that, you know, you do a movie, you do a whatever. I remember my first big residual. I did a movie called Crocodile Dundee in LA. It was the third one or whatever, the fourth one, whatever it was, the last one.
Yeah.
And I remember getting a check in my P.O. box a couple of months down the road, and it was for a lot of money. Yeah. And I was nervous. And so I called them. I go, I think you sent me the wrong money. I'm uncomfortable taking your money. They go, no, that's for you. I go, that's for me? They go, yeah, it's your residual.
You know, that happened to somebody Amelia and I know. That happened to our friend Danny Lopez.
Yes.
Who, by the way, is on strike.
He's on strike too. He was just announcing.
He gets to Colorado. He gets to Colorado, gets off the plane, goes to the set. We're on strike, fellas.
And it's like, what?
Yeah. They shut down production. He wasn't there an hour. They shut down production. No writers, no actors.
It's a tough break, and that's why I even feel more blessed with Lenny because this SAG has nothing to do with stage, and so we're getting to do the Lenny Bruce show, especially at this really difficult time for actors. At least I have that, but I am fighting with the actors because this is how we make a living. I mean, it's hard to make a living already in showbiz, like. The people at the top are greedy, and they got to share without the actors of anything.
Yeah. Well, isn't there kind of a double-edged sword here? I mean, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, particularly in the theater. Anyone that's gone to New York recently to see a play, you got to, you have to take a bank loan, kind of a bank loan out, really, to go see a play. It's going to cost you. For a husband, wife, and maybe 2 kids, it's going to cost you $1,500, maybe $2,000 for a show.
What show you going to?
Well, I mean, look at a show like, for example, one that just closed, Lion King. We're looking at $250, $275 a ticket. That's a lot of money.
You got terrible connections, Mad Dog. I can get you.
Well, look. I got no connections in the theater. Film and TV, different story.
It's certainly costly to go to a show. $250. Those are Hamilton prices. So I don't know about the Lion King. I mean, I'm sure you could get a nice ticket for for your family, $79 or something like that. But it's expensive, but it's not $1,500 expensive. It's not. So
I was going to say, because some of these prices, and I'm not even bullshitting you. Some of the prices are so inflated, you're scared to even look at them. I'm making none of this up. I really am.
No, I understand. But if you were a producer on the other end and you see what it takes to make it go, that's the number they need to do the show.
Well, let's talk about that. It's very expensive to produce a Broadway show. You're talking about live actors, real sets. You may or may not have a full house on any given night. You may have 30 people in an 800-seat theater, or you may have all 800 people. But it's a crapshoot, isn't it? Live theater.
Absolutely, and it's even worse now with COVID. We really took a beating. I mean, the theater seems to be the last thing back.
Yeah.
And I'm doing okay. We tour Lenny, and people show up, and it's wonderful.
Oh, sure.
But to give you an example, I mean, before the pandemic, we would have probably done 7 or 8 shows in a city, and now we do 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And so it's just a different thing now, and that's one of the frustrations I have about the streaming sites is that it kind of, forget the money for a second, it educated people in a different way that they don't even have to leave their house for entertainment, and theaters suffer for that.
Ronnie, is the show playing in LA now?
The show, we're back up. I'm on tour now. I happen to be in LA, and I'm happy to say that I'm playing August 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Laguna Playhouse in Laguna, California. It's beautiful, 400-seat theater, first class. So I'm in Laguna in August. September, I'm in Chicago again for the 3rd time, 900-seat theater. And then October, I'm in Houston. December, I'm in San Diego. If people go to lennybruceonstage.com, that's where you get all the info. We're constantly putting updates. As we book cities, we put them on there, So
how often do you get to the East Coast?
Well, I used to come a lot, and I miss it. I mean, I'm a New Yorker and New Jersey guy through and through, but now that I spend time touring to these other cities, it's less time that I can just go for a visit to New York because I can't take that time away. My daughter's 15.
Gotcha.
And I can't miss it. I hate missing a day.
Oh, no. Yeah, especially now in school, especially if they're going to be in sports, you want to go to all the games.
The whole thing. Yeah, well, she's in choir, so it's all.
I loved choir when I was in school.
She's amazing, yeah. So to me, it's like I don't have a lot of extra time anymore because that time I used to devote to go to New York. I now go on tour and then come home to my daughter and my family.
So it is LennyBruceOnStage.com for information. We will be right back with actor Ronnie Marmo right after this. Amelia?
Yes.
Your favorite commercial, young lady?
Oh, no.
Do you have sweaty balls? Or volleyball netty balls? It's time to make them ready balls. The Manscaped.com Lawnmower 3.0 will do the job and clean your knob with its patented no-nick head, so your head will function as desired. Enter promo code Wrestling Future for a generous 20% discount. That's enter Wrestling Future for a 20% discount. Manscaped.com and Wrestling with the Future, going balls to the walls with Manscaped.com and the Lawnmower 3.0. Your balls will thank you, and so will we. What's the Buzz Popcast wants to welcome Radioactive FM 88.6 in Wellington, New Zealand, Radio Perth, Australia, and RTL Radio 102.5 in Milan, Italy. Welcome aboard, and welcome to the Buzz. What's the Buzz? America's Best Popcast is back, and we are live and uncensored with actor Ronnie Marmo. I am the Mad Dog. Joined as I am each and every week by the Pitbull. Tonight, actor, television film actor Ronnie Marmo. He is also the man who breathed life into Lenny Bruce. The show is Not a Comedian, I'm Lenny Bruce. directed brilliantly by Emmy Award-winning actor Joe Mantegna. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things Lenny did on stage to garner attention. I have a couple clips I want to show you. One was quite poignant, and the other, in its own way, was interesting. But I want to show you something you're probably very familiar with, Ronnie. Let's take a look at this first.
Words to come really make you feel uncomfortable. If you think I'm rank for saying them to you, if you, the beholder, think it's rank for listening to, you probably can't come. And then you're of no use. Because that's the purpose of life. To recreate it.
After 4 years, why I got arrested so many times. See what happened. It's been a comedy of errors. Here's how it happened. I do my act at perhaps 11 o'clock at night. Little do I know that 11 a.m. the next morning, before the grand jury somewhere, is another guy doing my act who's introduced as Lenny Bruce in substance. Here he is, Lenny Bruce in substance. A peace officer who is trained to recognize clear and present dangers, not make believe, does the act. The grand jury watches him work and they go, that stinks. But I get busted. And the irony is that I have to go to court and defend his act.
Interesting, is it not? I want to follow up on kind of what Lenny said. We live today in a strange world of censorship, mixed meaning, social media where oftentimes voices and faces are not seen and heard, but you're relying upon words on a text, on a phone or on a computer screen. In a time when people don't speak to each other, but yet people are often easily offended by something someone else says, how would Lenny have fared in today's social environment? Having played him and gotten into his head a little bit, I want to ask you in substance to act as Lenny Bruce and kind of give me an inside his brain look.
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, obviously now it used to mean something to be a journalist, and now everyone thinks they're a journalist, right? Everyone thinks their opinion matters. Nobody cares. You don't see my opinion too much out there because nobody cares, except you think you care. So, so I would say, you know, it'd be very difficult. I mean, I have a feeling Lenny, here's what I loved about Lenny. He wasn't shock for shock value. He genuinely meant what he was saying. He wasn't like, okay, as a comic or as just a, you know, a guy saying, well, let me see what I could come up with so I'm, you know, radical or I'm, you know, what's my brand? What's my shtick? He didn't have any, it wasn't his thing. It was just the truth. And so now it's like you see all these people hiding behind a keyboard, and it's not good. I think Lenny would be pretty disappointed about it. And quite honestly, I mean, I think he'd be pretty embarrassed about the state of the country in a lot of ways. I mean, in some ways we've progressed, in many ways we've regressed. And
well, it's interesting. Thank you for going right there, because one of the things Lenny was an advocate of, to the point where it literally killed him. He died before he died. And I'll explain why I say that. What killed Lenny was his inability to speak his words, his thoughts, what was important to him. That killed him. And then there was the physical death, which, quite frankly, that's a rabbit hole we can go down. I don't think Lenny killed himself. I think somebody did the deed for him. But that's a subject for another show. But be that as it may, it took the literal and figurative life out of his body. He, more than anything, I believe, wanted to speak and be heard. We all want to be heard now. You pointed it out just a moment ago. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody wants to be heard. Amelia and I, quite frankly, we don't give a shit who listens to us or not. We know that people do, judging by our numbers, which
Yes.
are in the tens of millions, quite frankly. And we're very proud of that. But people have, again, with anything else, people have grown to accept us. Why did that not happen with Lenny Bruce? Why was he not accepted?
Well, because he was the first guy, and the first guy is never accepted. There's always somebody who steps over the line, then they got to make a new line. That's why Carlin was accepted.
Yeah.
Carlin
You know
was
what?
accepted. Lenny. There's always that first guy who takes the heat, takes the fall, and then George Carlin comes along and he benefits. You understand?
Somebody always has to be martyred.
Every time, somebody, and then they rewrite the line. They make the line somewhere new, and then somebody takes over it. But think about Carlin's life. I mean, the 730 words, the 730 words, and all the stuff he did. I mean, if you listen to Lenny's act, you go, "Oh, I see the influence."
Yeah. Oh God, absolutely. Well, George Carlin and Richard Pryor both openly admitted that Lenny Bruce was a major influence on their careers. That huge influence.
Yes.
But I mentioned in my opening, there were a couple other guys whose names and have been around a long time. They're all gone now. But guys like Mort Saul, guys like Maury Amsterdam from the Dick Van Dyke Show, of all things. People don't realize this, but Maury Amsterdam, in addition to being a dirty burlesque performer, had quite a potty mouth on him when he did his nightclub routine.
Right.
But because he was accepted in a certain venue, they all knew him. It was okay. It was socially acceptable because he was a name. Fat Jackie Leonard, who was a legend in the Catskills and among the Jewish comics. One of my favorites, in fact, was Dirty, man. It was Red Fox. Let's look at Red Fox. Those blue albums, man. Dirty stuff.
Well,
Red Fox was saying shit back in the day that would get you arrested in some places.
Well, Lenny, the reason I think Lenny took the heat, I mean, there were guys like Fox doing blue material, but they weren't doing it in mainstream clubs. And I think that was the thing. Lenny was becoming a mainstream name, and he was pushing the envelope in a way where, there's a story about, I spoke to Lenny's lawyer who's still alive, and I said, so tell me about, he saw the show and he was blown away, and we spent some time together. And I said, so tell me what really happened, And he said it wasn't so much the words that got him in trouble. It was that he was the smartest guy in the room. And then he did this bit about Jackie Kennedy. And he did a whole bit about Jackie Kennedy saying, let me tell you the truth is what is, and what should be is a fantasy. Basically saying that when she was, he had a Time magazine and Kennedy was on the cover, and he made a whole shtick about saying, like, listen, I know you're saying that she was running to get help when she was leaning out of the car, but maybe she was just scared and she was trying to get the hell out of there. So don't tell my daughter that she's a bad girl if she's scared and she runs. So he did this whole thing about Jackie Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then the cops were like, okay, that's enough. Let's arrest her. You're not going to talk about Jackie Kennedy like that. And so I think that was the bottom line. I mean, it's like, the words mattered, but I think they were more the excuse. And he was the smartest guy,
Here's a question that people often don't give thought to. I thought a lot about this, in fact, Ronnie. How much did television hurt Lenny?
How much television hurt Lenny?
Yeah, as I have this theory that television did him more damage than good.
Well, he didn't do a lot of television, because there wasn't a lot of opportunities for him. Steve Allen really loved him. And
Steve Allen, Hugh Hefner.
Well, him and Hef were very close friends. And Hef, I have a letter that Lenny wrote to Hef that I have in my possession now. And Lenny said, thanking Hef for the bail money. And,
Right,
really, it's really wild. He said, thank you for the monies for the lawyer. Yeah. And so it's a cool letter I have. But yeah, I mean, he didn't get a ton of opportunity on television because they kept wanting to censor him. And he kept saying, let me just do my act,
Yeah.
And they didn't like it.
That's why I bring it up. I think it did him more. When you watch that Steve Allen show, the routine he did. That laughter to me, Ronnie, sounded like nervous laughter. It didn't sound like genuine, ha ha, funny laughter.
Oh,
Is there? Does it make a difference? Is there a difference? Am I making too much of it?
Uh, is there a difference between the laughter and the audience? Like how a performer takes that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, is there a difference between nervous laughter and like ha ha laughter?
Well, I see it every night. I mean, when I look in the audience, I just played Toronto a few weeks ago, and they're the kindest, nicest people I ever met in my life. And sometimes that's not as good for the show, I I always say the audience is my scene partner, and I need you to go on that ride with me. And they were fabulous. And they stood up at the end, which is all you hope for. But some people are more vocal, and some people aren't. And so, as a performer, when I get the ha-ha laugh, that opens a certain box in me. But when I get the nervous laugh, that even opens up a more exciting box for me.
Beautiful.
Then I feel like Lenny, and I feel like I want to explore and see why they feel that way.
Exactly. Amelia, questions for Ronnie?
Speaking of when you get the audience involved, has there ever been an audience member that you've had to got into a fight with before?
I'm pretty good at controlling the audience with how I want it to go. There are a couple of spots in the show I leave a little room for improv. So in the audience, and so, but then I wouldn't say a fight, but there were a few times when I had to kind of straighten somebody up pretty quick so they got back in line so we could finish the show. Right. So I wouldn't say I went as far as got heckled. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of times where people thought they were a little overzealous about their participation.
Oh yeah, there's always somebody that wants to be part of the show. Absolutely.
So in other words, I'll sit in the front row, right?
Of course you will.
I hope you do. I hope you get to see it. I really
Absolutely. Hope. Please let me know when you come back to Tampa.
Ronnie, I hope you bring it to the East Coast. I really do.
Yes.
I'll let you guys both know, and I'll make sure you guys have both your emails. I'll make sure that you're on the mailing list so you know what we're doing.
Yeah, I will send. I'll tell you what. I'm going to send everything to our friend Janelle. Mm-hmm. Okay, at that website that we have.
Yeah,
and I'll take care of that. I'll send.
Yeah, make sure Janelle has everything because I want to make sure you guys stay abreast of what we're doing and where we are, and hopefully have you guys live in the audience.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Oh sure, absolutely. One of the things I'm going to leave everybody at the end of the show, I'm going to leave everyone with one of my favorite Lenny routines, but it's called "All Alone," and I know that you know it.
I do it in the show.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Mine too.
Before I let you go, I want to talk a little bit on a serious note about Kitty Bruce. I know Kitty is not well right now, and she needs a little help from our friends. So go ahead and make that pitch for Kitty.
Well, yeah, Kitty's struggling a little bit. She had some back issues, and she was in the hospital for a while. And the doctor bills are just over the top, and so we're all pulling together to try to help her. We've got Kelly Carlin, Dan Pasternak. We got all these incredible comics and people. And so if you go to my Facebook, Ronnie Marmo Facebook, I think I'm public, and you go on there and you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a fundraiser for Kitty. We're getting together this Sunday as well, a group of us having this little private event where we're going to pass a hat and try to raise more money and help her. I love her. She's like a sister to me. Yeah. To be trusted with this material is something I'll never take lightly. To play her dad and be trusted with that. But if you can help, if you have a few bucks, I would be beyond grateful. Maybe I'll send you guys. Make sure you guys have the link. You could share it with the.
Please, we'll put it on our page.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and every
Amelia,
dollar.
Do you have that? Do you have that link, Amelia?
No, but I'll go to his page and get that. Absolutely.
Yeah, just scroll down a couple of posts. I put it up a few days ago, and thank you for that because I really want to help Kitty. She's always there to help everybody.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I want everybody to know the website for everything, all things Lenny Bruce is lennybruce.org. It's the only officially recognized website by Lenny's daughter, Kitty Bruce, and any facsimile that looks remotely close to that is not. It's the only one, lennybruce.org, endorsed by Kitty Bruce. LennyBruceOnStage.com. That's Ronnie Marmo, the actor, director, and writer. I'm sorry, the actor and writer. Sorry, Joe. the actor and writer who brought Lenny Bruce to life on stage. I'm not a comedian. I'm Lenny Bruce. You got to see the show. It's remarkable. And Ron Marmo is an amazingly talented actor. You could, I have your sizzle reel, brother. I think I'm going to show it.
Don't show it to anybody else. That was 6 years ago. Listen, here's what I'm going to do. I just taped the performance a couple of weeks ago. Let me cut together a little piece. I'll make sure you guys get it so you can see it.
Thank you. That's great.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ronnie, you've been an amazing guest tonight. I am stoked to have you. I told Janelle that I was stoked that you were coming on the show.
Me too.
Amelia and I we can't thank you enough for being here. Anything that you want to promote before we leave?
No, just that's it. I'm really focused on Laguna. So if you have any California watchers and listeners, maybe they come out.
Absolutely.
Laguna Playhouse, which is great, and Lenny Bruce on Stage. You'll get all the info, and there's even a place on the website to sign up and throw your email, so we could let you know where we're going in the future. So,
all right, for Amelia Pitbull Chapman, for Ronnie Marmo, I am Angelo, the Mad Dog DeCipio, and we will see you next time on America's Best Popcast. What's the Buzz? And we're going to leave a little differently tonight.
Oh, a joy to be all alone.
Good night, everybody.
I'm happy alone, don't you see? I've convinced you. I don't know, I get so dramatic about it. You're better off alone, man. That's it, I'm going to get a whole bunch of new suits. I've had the same dumb suit for 10 years. You walk in her closet, you can't even breathe. That's it, I'll get a whole bunch of suits. I'll get a chick that likes to hang out, man. I'll have the vodka parties. That's modern. Vodka parties, swing it up, ball it up. I'll get a chick who likes to drink. Boy, my wife sure used to look good standing up against the sink. She's the lowest, though. I really put her down. No, I really miss her. I don't want some sharp chick that can quote Kerouac and walk with poise. I just want to hear my old lady say, get up and fix the sink. It's still making noise. All alone. All alone. Like a near-sighted dog wears the bone. But it's better to be all alone. No more taking out the garbage, hear her yakking on the phone. I gave her everything, even my mother's ring. But to me, she was so petty. Sometimes I wish that she were dead. But it'll probably take her 2 hours to get ready. When she's old, then she's going to be sorry. That's it. Like, she's young and swinging now, and she can get a lot of guys, but when she's old, I can see her about 20 years from now. How you doing, Annie? I haven't seen you in a long time. You look pretty good, baby. You're still washing your hair with Dutch cleanser, I see. Yeah, you look good. You gained a few pounds. What happened to your neck? I heard you got married a few times, huh? Me, no, I've always stayed single. I've been investing in property. I picked up a little place in Mexico. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called Acapulco. I don't know. Where are you living? A furnished room? That's nice. You cook on the radiator, the paper drapes. Sit in the lobby and watch television and all, That's cool, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. You have the Diners Club. You sign for you go first class in those joints. I know that. Yeah, that's it. Her future spells a murky gloom. I'll be rich and famous, and she'll be living in a furnished room, but it's going to be too late. I won't hear a moan. I'll be living in my Nob Hill mansion, rich and all alone. All alone. All alone. I'll be rich, but so all alone.